Hi everyone and welcome back. My name is Sarah and I'll be guiding you through your class here today. So today's class is a time conscious class, so it's just means that it's less than an hour. Some of these classes are going to be 20 minutes, half an hour, or probably just over around 40 minutes. I have not timed this class today, so I don't know how long this will take, but it will say it at the bottom so that you'll know how long it is. So yeah, when you're ready, we're going to start on our backs. So we're going to legs extended, arms beside the body. And just so you know as well, in this practice, in your practice, all of these are optional. So if at any time anything that doesn't align with you, or it's a pose that doesn't essentially feel good for you, just come to a pose that feels more comfortable for you or better for you. So yeah, when you're ready, come on down. When you've found yourself onto the mat, come to either find the palms so that they're beside the body, palms facing up or down. And then come to tune into the breath here. Just taking a moment to anchor the breath into the body. Taking a nice inhale through the nose and a slow exhale if it's there for you through the nose. And just staying with this. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Allowing the breath to be soft and gentle, not forcing anything or trying to manipulate the breath in any way. And just allowing it to come in and out. And then maybe you stay with the consciousness of breath coming in and out, or you might like to add on. Maybe you're observing the breath where it is in the body. So as the breath comes in and out and you observe the flow, maybe you anchor the mind to the part of the body that you feel the breath the most. Maybe that's the chest, the nose, the stomach. Maybe you feel it somewhere else. And just use this as an anchor point, as a central point for the breath awareness as it's coming in and out. If the mind wanders, so acknowledge where it's gone gently and guide it back to the breath, to observing the breath in the body. And next, when you feel ready, allow the breath to resume its natural rhythm. Come to send the hands above the head. Draw the legs into one another. Nice full body stretch. And then slowly start to take your feet over towards the bottom left hand corner of the mat. And then bring the hands over towards the left top corner of the mat. So you're creating a half moon shape with the body. So you come in to find your banana asana. You can always take hold of the right wrist with the left hand. If that's too much through the shoulder, you can always maybe take hold of opposite elbows, or you can always bring the arms beside the body if it's too much. But we're looking to find a sensation essentially down the right side of the rib cage. Maybe it even reaches into the pelvic area, into the hip area. And the middle of the torso is staying central in the mat. Taking one more round of breath where you are. And then coming back through center, taking a full body stretch. Before taking the feet over towards the bottom right corner, and then bringing the hands and arms over towards the top right corner. Leaning into that left side. If you're not feeling much of a stretch down the side of the body, maybe you bring that left foot on top of the right foot. Help extend that stretch deeper. It might alleviate something. And then just tuning into the breath, into that side body stretch here. And then coming back through center when you're ready. Drawing the knees in towards the chest to give yourself a little squeeze. Maybe the hands on the shins, or you're taking forearms and wrapping them around the front. Taking hold of opposite elbows. Taking some little gentle rocks, maybe side to side. Or maybe you're finding some stillness. Beautiful. On the next breath, releasing the legs, coming to plant the feet onto the mat, knees are bent. Extend the right leg up towards the sky and then come to place it on top of the left leg. So as if you're crossing, well, you are crossing the legs. So right leg on top of left. And this might be where you stay, or if you want to, you can come to wrap that right foot, if it makes it behind the back of the left calf. Send the arms up towards the sky. And we're bringing the right arm underneath left, finding eagle arms. So it might be that the backs of the palms touch, or maybe the fronts of the palms touch. And then come to hover the legs so that they're about 90 degrees or thereabouts. They could be a little bit lower, but essentially we're looking to create the back flat to the mat. If this is too much for the arms, you can always come to give yourself a little hug. And taking a round of breath here. You might already start to notice that activation, that engagement through the core. And then on the next breath, come to gently send the hands above the head. So they're going to tap the mat, and as you do so, extend the legs and the toes might tap the mat. And then gather it all back in. Draw the elbows in towards the knees, finding a little eagle crunch here. Lifting the shoulders off the mat. And then coming back through centre before extending the hands back behind you. They might tap the mat. The tippy toes are going to come towards the top of the mat. And then drawing it all back in again. Bringing elbows into knees, crunching, coming to lift the shoulders, lift the head. Taking one more round, extending. And then drawing it all back in. Coming back through centre, unravelling the legs, taking the feet out wide, allow knees to knock into towards one another. Just taking a moment here, finding a round of breath in restorative pose before we come on to the other side. Walking the feet back in, coming to extend the left leg up towards the sky and then come to place it on top of the right. So we're finding our cross-legged pose on the other side. Maybe you're using that left foot to kick behind the back of the calf, finding that extra lock. Send the hands up towards the sky. Left arm is coming behind, underneath right, and then come to interlace, finding eagle arms. So eagle arms, eagle legs. If they're not already, come to hover the legs so that they're about, knees are in line with the hips or thereabouts. And then on the next breath, send the hands above the head, toes to the top of the mat. Draw it all back in, lift shoulders, lift head, elbows come towards the knees for a crunch. Take 2 more rounds with your breath, extending and drawing it all back in. Using the breath to guide you, extending and then drawing it all back in. Coming back through centre, unravelling the legs, taking a moment in that restorative pose. Finding a round of breath here. Coming to bring the hands behind the backs of the knees, send the legs up towards the sky. Start to gently lift the hips up. As the hips lift up, you'll notice the legs come towards the face ever so slightly. And then as the hips come back down, think about some momentum. So start rocking and rolling up and down the spine until you come up to find a seat. And then we're coming off to one side, coming to find tabletop. So bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips or thereabouts. And then start to take some gentle rocks backwards and forwards, building up into the wrists. It's creating some movement through the wrists here. We spend a lot of time on our wrists in yoga. And then start to turn the hands to the long edges of the mat, so the palms are facing, the backs of the palms are facing in towards one another, rocking backwards and forwards, maybe side to side. The movements can be subtle or they can be big, just moving with what feels right for you and for your wrist mobility. Being mindful not to go too fast too soon. And then coming to send the fingers to face the knees, so the palms, back to the palms are now facing forward. Now this traditionally can feel quite tight for a lot of people. So if it is, walk the knees in a bit closer, create less space between hands and knees. And then you might like to rock backwards and forwards. The bases of the heels might lift ever so slightly. Just once again, moving with what works for your wrists here, being mindful not to go too deep too quick. And then slowly start to turn the hands. Do it one hand at a time. Turn the hands to face the front of the mat again. Finding yourself in a tabletop. And then slowly start to walk the knees back behind the hips. So walking the knees away from you till you're kind of in this like half plank pose essentially. Come to lower all the way down towards the mat. Send the fingertips towards the front of the mat so that the elbows are now underneath the shoulders or thereabouts. Elbows are about shoulder width apart, so we're finding this Sphinx pose. Come to tuck the toes under. Find a sense of engagement through the legs first. So really squeeze through those glutes, pushing to those toes. Chin might be slightly tucked in towards the chest as you come to lift the hips up, finding forearm plank. If that's too much, you can always come up one knee at a time. Taking a round of breath here, really firming down into the elbows, doming through the upper back. Coming down maybe one knee at a time or both knees at a time. Coming to find that Sphinx pose. And then coming to lift back up ever so slightly so you're in that half plank, knees are down. Finding that sense of engagement through the upper back first, then come to lift the knees off the mat, find forearm plank. Lowering one knee down at a time or both knees down, finding Sphinx. And then coming to lift the back of the body up again as if you're in that half plank. So knees are down, pushing into the upper back, so finding that kind of cat pose to begin with, and then lift each knee or both knees together, forearm plank. Take a round of breath here before lowering back down. Take a moment maybe in child's pose, or come to find your way to downward facing dog when you feel ready. Taking a full round of breath where you are. And when you found your way into your downward facing dog, come to maybe take your dog for a little walk, bending and extending into each leg. And then when you feel ready, slowly start to walk your hands towards the back of the mat, finding forward fold. So for your forward fold, that could be elbows towards the thighs and maybe hands to blocks, or maybe you're taking hold of opposite elbows. Just taking a moment here in your forward fold. Nice generous bend in the knees. Take a round of breath. If you've got hold of opposite elbows, allow them to come down. And then come up a little bit if you are on your elbows onto your thighs. Come up ever so slightly so that you can release the hands. So we're now all hanging mid-air, allowing the body to hang heavy like a rag doll. Taking a round of breath here. And then very slowly bringing the hands down towards the earth. Slowly start to walk your way out into a plank. Maybe the knees come down towards the earth, or maybe you're finding that sense of activation straight away. And bending through the knees, lift the hips up and back, finding downward facing dog. Slowly walk your hands towards the back of the mat, finding that ragdoll pose again. Nice, soft, generous bend through the back of the knees. Allow the head and neck, the arms to all hang heavy here. Take a round of breath before walking the hands back out, finding your plank pose. Maybe knees are down or knees are up. If the knees are up, think about finding that engagement, so drawing the heels towards the back of the room, shoulders roughly over the wrists, really doming through that upper back, pushing the mat away from you. And then lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Take a round of breath here. Slowly start to walk the hands in towards the body, finding that ragdoll pose again. Allow the body to hang heavy over the tops of the thighs. And then slowly walking back into plank one more time. Knees up or down. Taking a round of breath where you are. Walking the hands back in towards the body and coming to find forward fold. So we're not in that ragdoll anymore, we're in our version of forward fold. That could be elbows towards the thighs, hands to blocks or to the earth, or maybe a hold of opposite elbows. And come to release the elbows if you've taken hold of them, firming into the feet, the right foot, the big toe, the little toe, the heel come up to rise. Circle the arms wide, draw the hands down through heart center. Bring the hands beside the body for Tadasana, taking a round of breath here. Beautiful. On the next breath, extending the hands up towards the sky, palms might meet to draw them down through heart center, bend and fold over the tops of the thighs. Come to find your halfway lift, bringing the hands towards the shins, gaze is down towards the mat, the legs are straight. Little micro bend in the back of the knees so we're not completely locking out. And then slowly folding forward, walking the hands out, finding plank. Drawing the hips up and back for downward facing dog. Take a round of breath here. On the next breath, extending that right leg back behind you for three-legged dog. Allow the heel of the left foot to be heavy, the right foot to be flexed, and the right heel to flex to the back of the room. Bend the knee, bring the knee towards the chest, step the foot through, give it a helping hand if it needs it. Maybe you've got your blocks close by. And then come to spiral, so maybe you're stepping in ever so slightly, come to spiral that back heel down so that the toes are facing outwards. So it can be about 45 degrees or thereabouts. Really grounding down through the feet, energetically distributing the weight before coming up to rise, sending the arms above the head or to heart center, finding warrior one. On the next breath, sending this left hand back behind you, left arm is reaching up towards the sky, finding reverse warrior. Taking a round of breath here. And then coming back through warrior one, turning the torso, turning the hands to face the front of the mat. Come to frame that right foot, either with the blocks or with the hands. Come to gently come on towards the back toes and then start to straighten through the front right leg. So we're coming into this modified pyramid pose. So like I say, you've got the blocks close by. We're still keeping a mini bend in the back of that knee. We're not completely hyper locking out through the knee. And start to think about turning, bringing the right hip backwards, left hip forwards. Taking a round of breath here. And then bending into that right knee. Slowly start to lower that left knee down. Bringing that right hand to the inside of the right foot. Kickstand that left foot out towards the right side. Come to find a modified side angle. So you're either coming up to bring the left hand up towards the sky or maybe towards the hip. Taking a round of breath here. You can always have the hand onto a block to the inner thigh as the right leg also. And then come into frame that foot again, that right foot. Coming up to rise for low lunge. Oh, embracing any wobbles that might come. Taking a round of breath here. And come to frame that right foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee for runner's lunge. You can be on the hands or blocks. Firming down through both feet. Find that weight, that even distribution before coming up to rise for crescent lunge. Hands can be above the head at heart center. Really kickstanding that heel towards the ceiling, that back heel. Maybe bend through the back knee to give more space if needed. Send the hands up towards the sky if they're not also or there already. And then sweep the hands so that they come to the outside of the right hip. Now this is the next point. We're going to move and travel towards the back of the mat. So as the hands come up, sweep them up. Come to turn the toes, pivot all the way to the back of the room. Sweep the hands outside towards the left. Beautiful. Bring the hands up towards the sky, crescent lunge to the back of the mat. Come to frame through that left foot, step the left foot back to meet the right foot. Either staying in plank or lowering the knees down, coming all the way down to the mat. Either finding baby cobra or up dog. If you're finding baby cobra, bring the hands beside the ribcage, draw the elbows in, firm into the tops of the feet. Come up to lift the head, lift the chest, baby cobra. Think about dragging the hands towards the back of the mat to find that sense of engagement, that sense of lift. And try and take some weight out of the hands. And then lower back down. Coming up through tabletop or through plank. And then lifting the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Take a round of breath here. And slowly travelling your way towards the back of the mat, finding forward fold. With the feet staying where, well, the feet are going to stay where they are. Slowly start to walk the hands over towards the right side. And as you do, start to pivot the feet so that the feet are now facing the front of the mat. Hands are facing the front of the mat. So essentially, your legs are crossed. So you've got the right leg in front of the left leg. And you're in a forward fold. Take a round of breath here. And then slowly start to twist back. So coming over to the right again, twisting all the way towards the back of the mat again. Firming down through the feet, coming up to rise. Sweep the hands up nice and wide. Hands above the head or heart centre. Slowly start to bring the weight into the left foot. Come up to lift the right knee. So we're coming to hover the left leg now. Right leg, sorry. God, my rights and lefts are not coming out today. Really firming into that standing leg. Slowly start to bring a little bend into that left leg, a little bit of buoyancy maybe, before leaning ever so slightly forward so that we can step that right foot back, find present lunge. Take a round of breath. Draw the hands to heart centre or maybe towards the hips. Bring some awareness to this back foot, this left leg, this left foot. I'm going to spiral the left toes to face the front edge of the left mat. So we're in this kind of funky upright Skandasana pose. So then bring the hands up towards the sky, straighten through that left leg, bend through the right knee, draw the hands to heart centre. So we're coming into more of an active version of Skandasana. So the left toes can peel off the mat, heel is towards the mat, really firming down in there. Coming up to rise, straightening through the legs, then coming to turn the torso all the way to face the front of the mat, finding crescent lunge. Take a round of breath here. Come to frame that right foot, step the right foot back to meet the left, and then coming to find downward facing dog. And from your downward facing dog, coming to extend the left leg back behind you for three-legged dog. Really allowing the weight to come into the right heel, flexing the left toes towards the face, towards the body, sending the heel towards the back of the room. Bring the knee towards the chest, and then step the foot forward. Give it a little helping hand if it needs to. Either come in onto those blocks or hands to the earth. And then start to bring this back foot in. So we're coming to place the heel down and then the toes are spiraling out towards the side, towards the long edge of the right mat. Really firming down through the feet, bending through that front knee, coming up to rise, finding warrior one. Readjust the feet if you need to when you come up. If it feels a bit funky, doesn't feel right, make your adjustments. Taking a round of breath here. Then coming to bring this right hand back behind you, sending that left arm up towards the sky for a variation of reversed warrior. Cartwheel in the hands, coming to frame that left foot, coming onto the back toes, and then coming to straighten through that left leg this time. So you might be on those blocks or you might have the hands down towards the earth, but we're in a modified pyramid. So we're on the back tippy toes, front leg is straight, but we're not locking out through that knee. And we're not rounding or dumping into the spine, we're elevated here, heart is shining forward. And then bending through that front knee, lowering that right knee down towards the earth. Kickstand the right foot over towards the left side before bringing that left hand to the inside of the left foot or left block.
Send the right hand up towards the sky or towards the hip for a modified side angle. Beautiful. And slowly turning the torso, the body back towards the earth. Coming to frame that foot. And then come to lift all the way up into low lunge. Taking a round of breath here. And come to frame that left foot, either hands to block, so hands to earth, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Finding that buoyancy, that sense of stability before coming up to rise for crescent lunge. Hands above the head or to heart center. Take a round of breath here. If the hands are at heart center, bring them above the head. And then slowly start to sweep the hands out towards the side of the left hip. On the next breath, as the hands come back up, we're going to sweep them round, cartwheel the hands, cartwheel the feet all the way towards the back of the room, finding crescent lunge, and the hands to outside of the right hip. Taking the hands above the head, facing the body towards the front, the back of the mat for crescent lunge. And then come to frame that right foot, step the right foot back to meet the left foot, lowering yourself all the way down or staying in plank. Coming all the way down, finding either baby cobra or upward facing dog. Taking your variation of back bend here. And then coming to lower down, pushing up through tabletop or through plank, lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then slowly start to travel your way towards the back of the mat, walking all the way there, finding forward fold. Start to take the hands towards the left side, walking all our way towards the top of, pivoting, so we're turning all the way to face the front of the mat. So now this time we've got the left foot in front of the right foot. So we're in this funky forward fold here. Beautiful. Take the hands back over towards the left side, circling our way all the way to the back, finding forward fold. Coming to root down to rise. Circling the arms up nice and wide. Draw the hands to heart center. Come to send the hands above the head. As you do so, bring the weight into the right foot. Slowly start to lift the left knee, coming to hover the left knee. So we're now engaging into the right foot. Draw the hands to heart center. Slowly start to tilt forward as you then send that left leg back behind you, finding crescent lunge. Taking a round of breath here. Bring some awareness into this back foot, these left toes. Start to turn the toes to face outwards so that we're now in this variation of a funky kind of lunge. So the back toes facing the front right corner. Draw the hands to heart center, slowly straighten through that front leg, that right leg. And then start to bend into this right knee. You might keep the toes of bending into the left knee. You might keep the toes of the right foot down, or you might come to lift them and flex through the foot. So we're finding an active variation of Skandasana. Send the hands up towards the sky, straighten the legs, turn and pivot all the way to the top of the mat, finding crescent lunge at the front of the mat. Beautiful. Come to frame that left foot, step the left foot back to meet the right foot, and either come to find child's pose or downward facing dog for 3 rounds of breath. And when you've done your final round of breath, there is no rush, taking your time. We're all going to come to find ourselves in a seat. So coming to sit over the sit bones. Sit over the sit bones, come to sit on the sit bones. Practice fish pose. So you can have, you can use a bolster, you can use a pillow from your bed, from your sofa. They're always quite nice, they're quite soft. You can even roll up a towel. But essentially, or a block, essentially we're going to be placing this just underneath the shoulder blades. But if you are wanting to have something more restorative, you can also place this in between the shoulder blades, and you can have a block that's underneath supporting the head as well. So we'll work through it together. So I'm going to start on the lower setting, and I'm going to start with the knees bent. So come to bring the knees bent, feet are planted on towards the earth, bring the hands beside the hips, and then slowly start to lower yourself back. You might notice you might need to move or maneuver the prop that you are using. So we're bringing this just underneath the shoulders or thereabouts, and then you can bring that block so it places underneath the head. So if that feels good, maybe the hands just come to the outsides of the body and you allow the shoulders to roll open. It's a very nice chest opener. If you wanted a bit extra, you can always extend the legs long. If you're wanting to add on, you can always come to remove the block and send the head towards the earth. So you might notice that if you do that, you might need to readjust. You can always change the maneuver, the way that something sits if it doesn't feel right for you. Just work with your anatomy, like listen to your intuition, your body and the way it's telling you here. I can always guide you and tell you where to place things, but not necessarily will it feel right for you. And then we're going to be here for a few rounds of breath. If you want to come out earlier, feel free to. But allow the breath to be nice and smooth and gentle. Beautiful. When you've done your final round of breath, there is no rush. If you've lengthened the legs, come to bend back through the knees. Very gently, if you've moved the block from underneath your head, gently guide your neck in very softly so that the chin comes in towards the chest before bringing the forearms to the outside of the body and allowing yourself to come up. Beautiful. And then when you feel ready, come in to lower yourself all the way back down, draw the knees in towards the chest, giving yourself a little squeeze. And then keeping that right knee in towards the chest, extend left leg long. Take the right arm out towards the right side, and then the left hand is taking hold of the right knee. Gently guide that right knee over towards the left side for a supine spinal twist. Gaze can be up towards the ceiling or down the right palm. We're maintaining the upper back towards the mat here. Taking a round of breath, full inhale, full exhale. And drawing knee back through center, give it a little squeeze in, and then draw the left knee in, extend right leg long. Take the left arm out towards the side, and gently take hold of the left knee with the right hand and guide it across the body over towards the right side. Gaze can be up to the ceiling or down the left palm. Maybe you're taking some movements in and out, or maybe you're finding some stillness. And coming to cool down the body. Calm down the heart rate. And then coming back through center, drawing both knees into one another, send the legs up towards the ceiling. You can always bring the legs up the wall for a bit of extra support. Or if you want to, you can always even place a block underneath the hips to prop the hips up ever so slightly. Allow the knees to be soft, the ankles to be soft. Maybe the hands come in to join, the arms come in to join. Maybe close down the eyes or take that soft gaze. Tuning into the breath. Allowing the breath to be soft and gentle. Following the breath with the mind as it comes in and out. Taking one more conscious round of breath where you are. Before coming to place the feet back down to the earth.
And coming to roll over to one side, taking a full round of inhale and exhale here. And before coming up to rise to find a seat. When you've found your seat, draw the hands to heart center, close down the eyes, or take a soft gaze if it's still not there. Really draw the thumb towards the sternum, spread the fingers, push the palms into one another, create that energy, that prana between your hands. And raise the thumbs towards the third eye, take a slight bow in towards the chin, in towards the chest, in gratitude to yourself and your practice here today. It was a true honour to guide you from my heart to yours. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this class. I'd love to know how you got on. Send us a little message. If there was anything that you really enjoyed or would like to work more on, I'd love to know. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.